Have you ever been in this position where you feel like you're always stressed out or you're always feeling anxious or depressed and you feel like you're just not working as hard as you know that you can? I feel like I've been in this position for a super long time, and it took me a long time to kind of have this epiphany, and I've realized that I need to start applying this to my life moving forward. And this is just this syndrome of constantly feeling bad for ourselves, constantly kind of asking, woe is me, or why is this happening to me? And I'm having to do things that other people aren't having to do. And this feeling really comes about because in this society, we compare ourselves to other people so much that when we look at other people and whether we feel they have something that we don't have, or whether we feel like we're having to put in work that they're not having to put in, we instantly start to feel bad for ourselves. This really started for me in high school because doing the International Baccalaureate program, or the IB program, as a lot of people call it, I would look at people who weren't doing the IB program and I would constantly think, man, I'm having to study and do things when they don't have to. And I have certain projects and things that I have to do that they don't have to do. And this really negatively impacted my grades because I would get so deep in my head and I would start to feel so bad for myself to the point where I wouldn't want to study. Or even when I finally got myself to study or do that project or that assignment, I wasn't doing the best that I possibly could on it. I was just doing it for the sake of getting it done and moving on. And what I realized from this whole thing, looking back on it, is I could have done so much better if I would have taken just a fraction of that energy and channeled it in a different light. So instead of looking at other people and the work that they were having to put or not having to put in, I could say, okay, well, instead of me feeling sorry for myself, I'm just going to direct that energy into getting this thing done anyway. So that way I can make sure that the quality of this project or this paper doesn't suffer because I spent hours just moping and talking about how I didn't want to do it. And the same thing even started to happen with girls once I went to college. I would see people, whether it's my friends or whoever, I would see, oh, well, they're going on a date with this girl or they're going on a date with this girl. And I felt like, well, if I wasn't going on a date or if I didn't get someone's number, I would start to feel like, oh, well, maybe that's just not for me. Maybe talking to girls, maybe dating girls, maybe I'm just not as good looking as some of my friends are, or maybe I'm just not as smooth. And so things like that caused me to get in my head. And it was this whole thing kind of repeating of feeling sorry for myself because I was comparing myself to other people. And then when I started to compare myself to other people more and more, I started to just constantly feel bad for myself. And this just had a really negative impact on my confidence and my self esteem and my idea of my self worth. And because of this, whenever I would talk to a girl or approach a girl, in my mind, it was almost like I was rejecting myself beforehand because I was already telling myself, well, like, you know, this probably isn't going to work because it hasn't in the past. And I would just tell myself that, well, because, I'm not as attractive as some of my friends, or because I'm not as smooth when it comes to talking to girls and I get more nervous than some of my friends, maybe it's just not for me. And that self rejection really made it so much more evident when I would really talk to girls and all of these things. And when things wouldn't go well, I would wonder why things didn't go well. And it was just this spiral of something wouldn't go well. And then in my mind, I would be like, see, this is why. This is just proof that I'm not good at talking to girls. And this is why it's just not going to work out for me. And it's interesting though, because even though I had this mentality when it came to girls and everything in school, I never had that mentality when it came to working out. There was never a time that I was at the gym getting a lift in and thought, oh, I mean, well, my friend isn't here. Oh, well, this person isn't here. What I realized was I had a lot more. Going to the gym was something that I felt that I was genuinely good at. And because of that, I didn't feel the need to compare myself to others in that same lens, to the point where I was looking at one person and going, oh, well, this person is so strong and I'll never be that strong, or I'll never be able to bench as much weight as he's benching. So therefore, there's probably no point. Because lifting weights was something I genuinely enjoyed and felt that I was gifted at, I didn't compare myself to other people in that light. And so that's why yesterday when I was getting a workout in, it made me think like, how come if I can think about working out in this way, how come I don't just apply this state of mind to the rest of my life? And then everything else might start to flow a lot easier when I start to think, okay, well, instead of comparing myself and going, oh, well, this person's here, this person's there, just kind of focusing on where I'm trying to go. And I want to post this video because I started to think, if I'm starting to feel this way, I know a lot of people are starting to feel this way, especially because I've been feeling this way for a really long time, but it had been tough to put into words exactly why I was feeling this way, or it was hard to even know why I was feeling this way. A lot of times we have feelings and we have emotions that we really need to take some time to sit with and process before we can fully articulate what exactly it is that we're feeling, because this thing has really just been going on for a good chunk of my life. Because in undergrad, not only did I have that problem with girls and that issue, I also had that problem when it came to school as well. I started to tell myself that, well, seems like other people are just better at school than me, so I may never have that really good GPA. I may never, you know, make the dean's list because it's college and it's a little harder than high school and all of these things. And then once I got into dental school, it even magnified. And I said, well, like now my classmates are even smarter. And because of that, school is also harder. And I start to feel bad for myself because I was like, well, this is super difficult. My friends are all smarter than me. They're all better at studying than me. They're just better at school and they're better students than me. Because of this, I started to go down this rabbit hole of, I would do a little worse on an exam than I thought, and then I would validate these things in my head. And I'd go, oh, well, this person did so much better than me. And maybe because of that, I just need to accept that, this is going to be, what I'm going to be getting on everything from here on out. And it was just very interesting because in dental school, I really tried to not compare myself to other people. I tried to just keep my head kind of just like keep my head down, not look at exam averages, not look at anything like that. But still, there was something in my mind that, in terms of school, I couldn't help it. I would still end up comparing myself. And in terms of it was school, and then on top of that, I started to compare myself to other people in terms of how much money people were making. So I would look at, oh, well, I'm in dental school, so I'm not making money like that. And instead, I'm just paying a lot of money year after year. And why is tuition so expensive? And how come school has to be full time and I can't get a job to make extra money? And I have to rely on these loan disbursements and all of these things. And that was really the big thing that also started to make me really bitter towards school, because I looked at school as this this block in my life. Like I felt like I wanted to make money and school was the one thing that was keeping me from making money. And of course, on social media, you can see people, oh, well, so and so bought a house and so and so bought a car and so has their full time job out of college. And I would think, oh, well, how come I don't have that? Instead of these people who are working and buying things for themselves. And even though I was happy for them, of course, but when things like that happen, you can't help but look in the mirror and ask yourself, why isn't that me? How come so and so is buying a house and I'm still, just in school paying tons of money for tuition, just hoping to even make it to graduation? Because of this, I started to get really bitter towards school. And I tried not to let it show just in my overall demeanor in terms of interacting with people and all of these things. But my overall viewpoint of dental school definitely suffered. And because of that, I feel as though I didn't get as strong of grades as I could have, because so much of that time in dental school was spent with me just feeling sorry for myself that I wasn't working and I didn't have the ability to make my own full time income. And there's something about that. There's something about being in a phase of life where you're seeing your friends continuously elevate and continuously better themselves while it just feels like you're stagnant just in school. And so, yeah, you guys, I wanted to make this video today to hopefully inspire anybody who's feeling the same way. Anyone else who feels like they're constantly comparing themselves to other people, they're constantly feeling sorry for themselves because of this. And I wanted to say that if you're constantly feeling sorry for yourself, what this means is that you're constantly comparing yourself. And what I would ask you to do is to stop comparing yourself to other people and to direct that energy and that focus of comparing yourself to other people and just redirect that energy into focusing on yourself and focusing on what you can do to better your life today. And so once you redirect your energy, you will notice that things start to look up again and that you constantly start to feel better. And if that means that you need to get off of social media for a little bit, or you need to get off of Instagram or TikTok or whatever social media that you're using, then I highly recommend it, because that's something I've done in the past and that's something that's helped me tremendously as well. And so, if any of you guys have any questions or want to know anything, feel free to leave it in the comments below. And if you made it to the end of this video, I appreciate you. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one.